ready to seriously level up those people skills. We're diving deep today. Like really deep into how to better connect with others and make a bigger impact every single day.
And for this deep dive, we have an incredible guide, a true classic.
You mean like an old book?
Well, yeah, it was published in 1937, but...
Whoa, almost a century ago. Okay, I'm intrigued. What is this ancient wisdom?
Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that one. Isn't that like the Bible of social skills or something?
Kinda. It's sold over 10 million copies and been translated into 36 languages. So yeah, it's definitely had an impact.
Okay, that kind of staying power has to mean something, right?
Absolutely. The thing is, despite its age, the core principles are still incredibly relevant today, maybe even more so now.
Okay, so what's the secret? What did Carnegie figure out that makes this book so timeless?
The book's power really lies in its focus on human nature. Carnegie spent years, researching and interviewing all sorts of successful people.
Like super high achievers.
Yeah, exactly. People like Thomas Edison and Franklin D. Roosevelt.
Whoa, big names. So what did he find? Did these folks have like a secret handshake or something?
Not exactly a secret handshake, but he uncovered this fundamental truth about human behavior that's often overlooked.
Ooh, I'm listening.
He realized that people deep down have this inherent need to feel important. Even, and this is where it gets really interesting, even criminals.
Wait, hold on. Are you saying criminals want to feel important?
It might sound counterintuitive, but Carnegie argues that everyone, no matter what they do, has this deep desire to justify their actions, to see themselves in a good light, even if those actions are, well, not so good.
That's a little mind-blowing, to be honest. Can you give me an example?
Sure. Think about Two Gun Crowley, notorious gangster, right?
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
Well, after this crazy shootout, as the police were closing in, he wrote a letter.
A letter? What does it say?
He claimed he had a kind heart and would never hurt anyone.
Seriously? That's wild. It makes you think, how can someone do those kinds of things and still think they're a good person?
It all comes down to rationalization. People, including criminals, are really good at justifying their actions. They see things through this filter that makes them feel good about themselves.
So what does this mean for us regular folks who aren't, running from the cops? How can understanding this actually help us?
Well, think about it. When you're disagreeing with someone, it's easy to get stuck in this who's right, who's wrong battle. But if you remember that they're probably trying to protect their ego, even if they're in the wrong,
it can change how you approach the whole situation.
Exactly.
That's a really good point. So instead of getting all defensive or trying to prove them wrong, you come at it with more understanding.
Exactly. Recognizing that tendency in others can be huge for navigating disagreements, building relationships, even influencing people.
So understanding this need to feel important can actually make us better communicators. Who knew?
It's a game changer, for sure. And this actually leads us to another important thing. Carnegie talks about the importance of genuine appreciation.
Okay, I'm starting to see the bigger picture here. Everyone wants to feel valued, right? But how do we turn that into action? How do we actually change how we interact with others?
Well, Carnegie believes people crave appreciation, almost like a physical need. He compares it to food or sleep.
Okay, I'm with you. We need food, we need sleep. What else?
Well, he says that neglecting our need for appreciation can have serious consequences, just like neglecting our physical needs.
Think about it. Lack of sleep, not enough food, it makes us irritable, we can't function right.
And it's the same with feeling unappreciated.
We feel down, unimportant, less motivated.
Exactly. We need to nourish our self-esteem with appreciation, just like we nourish our bodies with food.
I like that analogy. It makes a lot of sense. Do you have any examples of this in action?
Oh, absolutely. Remember that radio show, The Rest of the Story, with Paul Harvey?
Oh yeah, those are great. What does that have to do with appreciation?
Well, he told this story about Stevie Wonder, who, as we know, is an incredible musician, but his life could have been totally different if it wasn't for a teacher who saw something special in him,
What do you mean?
Well, when Stevie was young, this teacher recognized and appreciated his unique abilities, especially his hearing.
And that made a difference.
A huge difference. This simple act of appreciation had a profound impact on him. It shaped his whole life and career.
Wow, that's a powerful story. It makes you think about all the people out there who are struggling because they don't feel valued.
Yeah. It's something to think about, right? But there's a catch.
A catch? What's that?
It has to be genuine. Carnegie makes a big deal about the difference between sincere appreciation and just flattery.
Oh, I like empty compliments.
Exactly. Flattery is like counterfeit money. It might seem okay at first, but it loses its value pretty quickly.
So how do we make sure we're showing appreciation that's real?
Yeah.
Appreciation that actually matters to the other person.
Well, Carnegie has these 6 core principles for winning friends and influencing people, and they're all about building genuine connections.
Okay, I'm ready to hear these principles. Give me the roadmap.
All right, the first one is to become genuinely interested in others.
Okay, but how? What does that even mean?
It's about really wanting to learn about them, their thoughts, their experiences. Carnegie tells a story about a botanist who considered him a great conversationalist simply because he was a good listener, He was fascinated by what the botanist had to say.
So instead of trying to be the star of the show, we should focus on being genuinely curious about the other person.
Exactly. People can tell when you're truly interested in them. It makes them feel valued and respected.
Makes sense. Who doesn't love it when someone is really interested in what they have to say, right?
Exactly. Okay, ready for principle number 2?
Hit me with it.
This one's simple but powerful. Smile.
Smile. Really, that's it.
A genuine smile can totally change the atmosphere and put people at ease.
But what if I'm just not a smiley person? Am I doomed to fail at this whole thing?
Not at all. It's not about forcing it. It's about cultivating a positive attitude and letting that show through when you're talking to people.
Okay, so it's got to be a real smile, not some fake grin. Gotcha.
A genuine smile comes from a place of warmth and openness, and that's what people are drawn to.
I can see that. Okay, a genuine smile. What else you got?
Next up is something that seems basic, but it's often overlooked. Remember names.
Oh, tell me about it. I am terrible with names. But yeah, it does feel good when someone remembers yours.
It makes you feel seen, right? Like you made an impression.
Totally. But seriously, any tips on how to get better at this?
Carnegie suggests a few things. One is to repeat the name back to them when you first meet them.
Oh, like, nice to meet you, Sarah.
Exactly. It reinforces the connection, it shows you're paying attention.
Okay, repeat the name. I can try that. What else?
You can also try to connect the name with a visual image or something memorable about the person.
Like if someone has bright blue eyes, I could think blue-eyed Bob or something.
Exactly. Whatever works for you. Okay, ready for principle number 4?
Lay it on me. What's next?
This one we've touched on a bit already, but it's so important. Be a good listener.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. People want to feel heard, but isn't just hearing enough?
No, it's about actively listening. Pay attention to their body language, their tone of voice. Really try to get where they're coming from.
It's about more than just the words, right?
Exactly. It's about asking questions, making sure you understand, and making them feel like their thoughts and feelings actually matter.
Okay, active listening. Got it. So we've got genuine interest, smiling, remembering names, being a good listener. What else is on this roadmap to winning friends and influencing people?
All right, the 5th principle is to talk in terms of the other person's interests.
So instead of trying to control the conversation, we should focus on what matters to them.
Exactly. People are way more engaged when they feel like you get them, like you care about what's important to them.
Makes sense. Who doesn't love to talk about their passions and interests, right?
Right. Okay. Last but not least, principle number 6 ties it all together. Make the other person feel important and do it sincerely.
Okay, this sounds familiar. But it's more than just saying nice things, right? It's about genuinely valuing the other person.
It is. It's about making them feel seen, heard, and respected. Not just with your words, but with your actions, too.
So it sounds like all 6 of these principles are about shifting our focus away from ourselves.
You got it. It's about going into every interaction with this genuine desire to connect, understand, and appreciate the other person.
And that can make a huge difference in our relationships.
Absolutely, both personally and professionally. Huge difference. What's interesting is how these small shifts in our thinking can really change how we interact with people.
It's like a superpower, right? Just being more aware how people feel and what they need.
Totally. And Carnegie doesn't stop there. He gives us 12 techniques for, as he puts it, winning others to your way of thinking.
Okay, now you're talking. Techniques for persuasion. Sign me up. What's the first one?
Well, the first one is super important, especially if you're, someone who loves a good debate. Avoid arguments.
Avoid arguments, really? But sometimes they're necessary, right?
Carnegie says they're rarely productive. All they do is damage relationships. People get defensive, and no one really listens.
That's true. I've been there.
Yeah.
You win the argument, but you lose the connection.
Exactly. Instead of trying to force your view on someone, ask questions. Try to understand where they're coming from.
You might be surprised by what you learn.
You might even find some common ground.
That's a great point. It's about having a conversation, not a fight. Okay, so avoid arguments. What's next?
This one goes hand in hand with the first. Show respect for the other person's opinions, even if you don't agree with them.
Oh man, I'm so guilty of this. Sometimes I get so caught up in being right, But how do you do that when you really believe the other person is wrong?
It's about recognizing their perspective as valid. You can disagree without being a jerk,
Yeah, so like instead of saying, you're wrong, I could say something like, I see why you think that.
Exactly. You could say, I've thought about it differently.
Ah, okay. So you're still expressing your disagreement, but in a way that's respectful and keeps the conversation going.
Exactly. All right, technique number 3 is a tough one, but important. If you're wrong, admit it.
Admit it, quickly and emphatically.
That's the one. It's hard, I know, but
I could see how it would build trust. It shows you're not afraid to be vulnerable.
it shows you care more about being honest than being right. And that can go a long way. All right, number 4, begin in a friendly way.
Okay, that one seems pretty straightforward. Just be nice.
It's about creating a welcoming environment. Make people feel comfortable sharing their thoughts.
It's like setting the stage for a good conversation, not a battle.
Exactly. When people feel at ease, they're more open to what you have to say. Technique number 5 is a little more strategic.
Ooh, strategic, I like it.
Get the other person saying yes, yes, immediately.
Wait, what? How do you do that?
It's not about tricking anyone. It's about finding areas where you agree early on in the conversation.
Oh, so you start with common ground. Kind of like building momentum.
Exactly. Okay, number 6 is one that I always struggle with.
Me too. What is it?
Let the other person do a great deal of the talking.
Oh, man, that's a hard one. I love to talk.
I know, me too. But letting the other person talk shows you're truly interested. Plus, you might learn something new.
It's like that active listening thing we talked about earlier.
Exactly. Okay, ready for number 7?
Bring it on.
This one's a bit sneaky. Let the other person feel that the idea is his or hers.
Wait, what does that even mean?
Instead of directly presenting your idea, you guide them towards it.
So they think it was their idea all along.
Exactly. People are more likely to support something they feel they came up with themselves.
That is sneaky. I like it. Okay, what's next?
Number 8 is all about perspective. Try honestly to see things from the other person's point of view.
Oh yeah, empathy, right?
Yeah.
Putting yourself in their shoes.
Exactly. Remember, everyone has different experiences that shape how they see the world.
We got to get outside of our own heads and see things from their side. Okay, what's next?
Number 9 builds on that. Be sympathetic to the other person's ideas and desires.
So not just understanding their perspective, but acknowledging their feelings too.
You got it. Even if you don't agree, you can still show them you care.
This is some deep stuff. Okay, give me the last 3.
All right, number 10 is about appealing to the nobler motives.
Noble motives, what's that all about?
Carnegie believed most people want to do the right thing, so appeal to their better nature.
Instead of just their self-interest.
Exactly. People are more motivated when they feel like they're contributing to something good. Number 11 is about storytelling.
Oh, I love a good story.
Me too. Dramatize your ideas. Make them come alive.
Don't just present dry facts. Use stories and vivid language to make your ideas stick.
Exactly. Okay, last but not least, number 12 is about tapping into people's competitive spirit.
Ooh, competition. I like where this is going.
Throw down a challenge.
So give them something to strive for, a goal to achieve.
People are naturally motivated to prove themselves. All right, we've covered a lot.
That was a whirlwind. Carnegie's given us a whole toolkit for improving our relationships and getting things done.
It's amazing how much wisdom is packed into that book.
But let's be real, things don't always go our way. People could
Yeah.
be unpredictable. What happens when we hit those bumps in the road? I mean, we can't always expect everything to be smooth sailing, can we?
We can't control everything, right?
Right.
Carnegie actually talks about this.
He does.
He says, look, even with the best intentions, and even when we're using all the right techniques, we're going to face challenges and disagreements.
Conflict's just a part of life, isn't it?
It is, but it's what we do with those challenges that matters.
Okay, so how do we handle it when things get tough?
Carnegie says we have to be resilient.
Resilient.
We can't give up on these principles just because things get a little difficult.
It's about sticking with it, even when we hit a roadblock.
Exactly. And this brings us back to one of the most important principles.
You mean appreciation?
Yes, appreciation.
It's so simple, but so powerful, isn't it?
It really is. Carnegie has all these stories that show just how transformative it can be.
Like that one with the sales manager, right?
Oh, yeah, the one who needed to motivate his team.
They were feeling discouraged, weren't they?
They were, and instead of giving them a pep talk,
What'd he do?
he asked them what they expected from him as their manager.
That's interesting. He flipped the script.
He did, and then he asked them what he had a right to expect from them.
And what did they say?
They came up with a whole list, things like loyalty, honesty, initiative, optimism, teamwork.
Wow. They basically set their own standards.
Yeah, exactly.
And because they were involved in the process?
They were more motivated to meet those expectations.
And it worked.
It did. Sales went way up.
All because he showed them that he valued their input.
It all comes back to appreciation.
It's amazing how powerful it can be.
It is, and it's not just in work situations either.
What about personal relationships?
It's just as important there, too.
How so?
Appreciation strengthens bonds. It helps us resolve conflicts.
Makes our relationships stronger?
Remember that story Carnegie tells about the man visiting his elderly aunt?
The one with the Packard.
Yes, he wanted to buy her car.
But she wouldn't let him.
She insisted on giving it to him as a gift.
She was so touched by his offer.
It shows how appreciation can lead to incredible acts of generosity and kindness.
It's a reminder that appreciation isn't just about words.
It's about our actions, too.
It's about showing people that we care.
And sometimes the smallest gestures can have the biggest impact.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People, I think the big takeaway is that it's not just about getting what we want.
Right.
It's about becoming better people.
More empathetic, more understanding, more appreciative.
Exactly. It's about building meaningful connections with the people around us.
And making the world a better place.
So think about the people in your life.
Your family, your friends, your colleagues, even the strangers you meet on the street.
Who could you show a little more appreciation to today?
Maybe it's a simple thank you.
Or a listening ear.
Even just a smile.
These small acts of kindness can make a world of difference.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
We hope you've learned something valuable.
And that you're inspired to put these principles into practice.
Remember, even small changes can have a big impact.
So start today.
And see what happens.